Okay, good, Lemadrin. Now, Traejan, you move forward into the next room of the maddening labyrinth of Larry the Lich.
Okay. I'm up to 3 insanities right now, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
You have just developed paranoia,
Goody.
in addition to insanity and super insanity.
Nice.
And you're in a bar. What do you do?
Well, I was saying, since I'm alcoholic, I am going to pillage it, but first, I'm going to see if there's anything missing.
Okay. As you look around, you see a wonderfully laid out banquet table, fine bar, and there's a bottle of red missing from one of the more expensive sections.
Red, huh? Who drinks red wine? Nobles and rich people. But what are nobles and rich people doing in a death labyrinth? That doesn't make any sense. They'd have to be super sneaky to get away with it. Who's sneaky? The orc cultists we've been trying to kill. They're super sneaky. Which means they've been training someone who is rich. But who would they be training? Why would they be here? There's a traitor. Our wizard's a noble, and nobles drink red wine. The orcs trained the wizard. He has betrayed us! Okay, I am angry. We have to kill the traitor. He is clearly working for the orc cultists. I am going to raid the bar big time. And then I'm going to knock an arrow, and we are going wizard hunting. Because he's betrayed us, and that idiot, I've been waiting for this moment. He needs to die. So I'm going to go wizard hunting and kill the traitor after the wine raid.
Okay, fair enough.
I thought I'd get a few more laughs. I have to use the restroom real quick. I'll be right back.
He wasn't supposed to figure that out for 3 months.
I know, what are we gonna do?
I've got nothing.
Okay, I'm the DM here. I should have a plan. He's got 3 insanities. He's in a maddening labyrinth. Imaginary friend.
That lies to him.
Perfect.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
So I knock the arrow and head for the portal.
Alrighty. As you're headed to the portal, you see your imaginary friend Fred there.
You're back! Buddy! We're going wizard hunting. This is going to be great. Jerry friend, yeah. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Unqualified Experts. I am your corrupt overlord, Shane, with...
Old man Callahan.
And I'm Braden Gardner. And today we're going to be bringing you the second installment of our D&D Storytime series.
Woo!
Unlike the first one where we kind of picked and chose our favorite stories from a medley of campaigns, today we thought we would talk about a campaign that all 3 of us were involved in. I was a DM for a campaign that my buddy PJ ran for another group that I was in, but I really liked it and was inspired to run it for our group of friends here as well. So after we wrapped up the campaign with PJ, I ran this campaign for Shane, Callahan, and our friends James and Gallo. Callahan was playing a wizard named Lemadrin.
I hate that character. I hate him so much.
I'm pretty sure everybody does, but like he said, legend. The Ranger Traejan, played by Shane.
Alcoholic and had a long 0 session because a ranger could not climb the tree to get to the message bird.
That bird is still looking at you with disapproval to this day.
As he should.
And then we also had a life cleric, played by James, and a rogue, played by Gallo. The nicest rogue ever, by the way. Normally you think rogues are super cutthroat, but this Gallo really played him well as a street urchin who was just trying to make an honest buck.
Right.
Literally.
Through roguing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. He wasn't the thievy type. He was the, I'm going to use my skill set to help people type.
I mean, Traejan was a good-natured, mischievous half-elf, as you are,
And
and
heavy alcoholic, which was nice. It was not meant to be that way, but I put minor drinking problem, and my dice rolling was so beyond atrocious, people are still talking about it 6 years later. So minor drinking problem became alcoholic because I had to explain all the 1s, 2s, and 3s I was rolling.
well, yeah, because you weren't drinking. The moment you started actually drinking, your dice rolls went up by 10 to 15 points.
Right.
In game, I said I take a drink of whiskey and shoot. I couldn't roll below a 15. It was amazing.
It was just...
So we rolled with it.
I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. Just keep them liquored up.
And Life Cleric of Bahamut, good dude. Pretty white bread cleric.
And very durable.
Extremely durable. Built as a tank to keep the rest of the party alive.
And so yeah, before we jump into specific stories, this synopsis, it was basically kind of a 4 horsemen type thing, and if you want to add another minute or two about the overarching plot, and we will then have our special guest jump right in with the legend known as Lemadrin.
Sure thing. So the overarching plot of the campaign is that the world is slowly starting to fall into ruin because the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse have appeared, each with their own signature weapon that they wield to spread pestilence, famine, war, and death. So the party was tasked with going and figuring out why they were here and ultimately slowing and or stopping their progress. And the plot went along a little further from there, where they basically ultimately needed to try and track down the actual horsemen's weapons, because they found that the horsemen they were fighting were basically really good illusionary doubles. That instead of taking hit point damage, you had to inflict just a certain number of hits on the illusion to make it go away.
That sucked.
It was rough, because the illusions got way tougher the further along in the fight you got.
I thought that they were fine.
You also didn't fight?
Right.
So let's go ahead and lead into that with Lemadrin, the legend, and give us an example of a time Lemadrin didn't fight, because there are plenty.
Well, to give you just a background on him, when we were just before we even started playing, I gave Braden the description. He goes, "So tell me about your character." And I said, "Well, okay. He's a rich socialite that is a complete narcissist and believes that everything should be given to him in life. He has no useful skills and really can't do anything, and has been effectively, he got turned over for a position for his younger sister who was actually competent, so he stormed off from his rich family. He has aversions to dirt and doing work and anything that would make him uncomfortable in any way."
Yeah, and with this explanation, part of the overarching plot for the campaign is that one of the party members, either by happenstance or by other reasons, is going to end up working to actually collect the weapons of the horsemen in secret and not tell the party, because if they tell the party, bad things happen.
To them.
To them, specifically. And I waited to get the backstories and basically the character sheets for all of the different characters to see if there was someone who was just a natural fit. So we have a mischievous drunken half-elf, a white bread life cleric, a rogue with a heart of gold, and a power-hungry, lazy noble. Obviously, I'm picking the power-hungry, lazy noble. He's obviously the most malleable to the designs of demons.
It's like he wrote himself to be the trader mechanic before he even knew there was a trader
Mhm.
mechanic.
I was trying to, right, I was just trying to be the comic relief of the group, and it just didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, because normally I would have had a letter to give to each of the players at the start of the campaign, and I would have just randomly handed the letters out, and whoever got it, and we would have worked with it from there. In this case, there was an obvious choice, handed Callahan the bad letter, and everyone else got the standard one.
And he went with it because the devil basically said, "You'll take this deal, and I'll give you power, or I'll kill you." That's an easy choice, you know, like, or at least from that perspective. But everything, it started to set the scope of who Lemadrin was. He blew all of his starting money getting to town because as he had to have the most luxurious blankets and pillows that he could possibly have, because sleeping on the ground is right out. He didn't have a bedroll. He just had a bunch of blankets and pillows in his carriage. So anything that touched the ground was now dirty and tainted forever. And he would just sleep, like he would lay them out, and he didn't know how to set up a tent, so he didn't have one. So he would just sleep on that and then leave it behind and go to town. At one point, he dropped money on the ground, actual money, and left it because it was dirty. So, and his first introduction to the players, we went into the back room. Well, no, he even botched that. He was supposed to use a code, right?
Yeah, and he failed that too.
Because he didn't know it's a silent emergency. He's like, "I'm here for the secret meeting." Basically announces it to the bar. At which point, what did he do? Like the bar guy?
Oh, the bar guy was just like, "Get over here, you idiot, and shut up. Here, have a drink. And then, why don't you have one in the private room back here?" And then we just moved along from there and actually got him in there and out of the bar so people would stop giving him funny looks.
To set the scope for the entire party who was already in there, as I walked in, it's a very nice table. They had some drinks out for everyone. And he pulls out a hanky so that he can pull his seat away from the table and then lays it down on the cushion and sits down.
So that kind of gives you an idea of what the party had to deal with on the whole when dealing with Lemadrin. And this prissiness, this aversion to dirt, just went on and on. Like, it was just a recurring problem to the point where it actually impacted his spell list to a dramatic degree. Like, all he would ever have prepared are Unseen Servants and Tensor's Floating Discs for his level 1 spells. And this became a bit of a problem when they had their first combat in the woods.
Yeah, do tell us about that.
Well, there was, if I remember, we had stopped for the night, right?
We were arguing already.
Right.
Again.
I was in the carriage. You guys, you didn't like me for reasons I can't fathom. And then, you noticed bad guys and announced it to the party.
Yeah.
So you went traipsing off to the woods, at which point I leaned my head out the window and said, "Why are you heading to the woods? That's where the bandits are!"
And keep in mind, at this point, we did not know that as long as I said I was drunk, I would roll well. So this was like the super, super rare successful roll where I had stealth going. And Braden just smiled and said, "Yeah, he just broke your stealth check." And then I got shot. Immediately.
He didn't like me.
There was good reason for that, because the Ranger and the Rogue were working together really well and actually were about to get the drop on this pack of bandits. And then you just blow it for everyone. So we go into initiative, and the first thing the bandits do after they shoot the Ranger is shoot flaming arrows at the carriage.
To which I was completely oblivious of, because I had no useful perception or anything else. So I just closed the curtains.
Yeah, what was it, a 1 and a 2 in your perception checks, I believe?
Yeah, but I also, I wasn't going to have any part of that. So I just closed the curtains and was sitting calmly inside of the carriage.
Combat is beneath the man of your station.
Exactly.
The burning carriage.
I'll wait for them to get back, was my thinking on that.
Meanwhile, the rest of the party is picking up what the bandits are putting down and has realized that things are about to go south real quick.
Yes, and the carriage was on fire so badly where Braden made clear that in another turn, the wizard with no hit points is about to take massive damage, and yes, if his body burns, he doesn't come back. And so I ran to save him, stopped, and actually asked him to wait and spend a turn contemplating whether I actually wanted to save him or not. And unfortunately for the party, fortunately for him, I rolled above a 10, and so I decided to go save him, at which point he decides he's going to initiate a grapple check for me to get my, quote, dirty half-elf hand off of him.
Yeah, it was like...
And, the whole carriage is lit up with burning fire that he still hasn't noticed yet.
It's, to be fair, he had dirt under his fingernails. And,
Ranger.
And smelled of the road. So, that's not cool. But he won. Explicably, he won the combat check. And drug me out of the carriage, and I landed on the ground, which was bad, because then I had to throw those clothes away.
And he yelled, and I got shot again.
Yes, the shooting. I wasn't wounded. That's the important thing.
Yes, this was a common problem, because while you weren't wounded, you also didn't really participate in most of the combat.
Right, any of it.
No, you had one key roll at the very end when you decided, oh, our party's losing, maybe I should help.
But no, not in that one. No.
Yeah, because you had the sleep spell. We figured out how good that was at low levels in that campaign.
No, I didn't get that till later.
Really? I thought you did use that on the bandit.
He still used this the
I
second
started-
bandit fight.
I
he
built-
used sleep.
Oh, right, there were 2 bandit fights. My
I
bad.
built my wizard with no combat spells for first level. They're like, cast magic missile. I was like, what?
I don't know how to do that.
Exactly. That's not going to happen. And they're just like, what kind of a wizard doesn't know magic missile? And I was like, this kind, right here. It's
If you read them his spell list, they were very upset.
right. It was, and then that was, but it was also the spell he learned was sleep.
Mm-hmm.
When he leveled up by basically just being dead weight on the party, that and just taking his share of experience, because he still didn't want magic missile because it might cause blood. So it was, and blood is also very messy and dirty. So he went with sleep.
And that ended up being a lifesaver against the second group of bandits.
It's true, but they also, when they looted the bandits, the only loot that they had was a bunch of fluffy pillows and blankets and a couple of coins. I wanted no part of this.
Turns out, they were his old pillows and blankets and coins that he had left on the road from where he lived to Waterdeep.
It's true. The world's fluffiest pillow.
The world's fluffiest pillow was given to the rogue, who had never owned such a fine piece of anything. He still had that pillow at the end of the campaign.
Yes,
it was very
yes,
impressive.
It was on the items inventory list on his character sheet.
And then, oh god, Speedy. That's because we had the driver Speedy, which I hired in Waterdeep, and we got to the whole next town. And basically announced, I was like, I'll use the whip to make everything go faster. And it was just like, okay, that's fine.
I thought he was whipping the horse.
They thought I was whipping the horse. I was whipping the driver to make him make the horses go faster. And that should have clued them in. As to his character,
They still just presumed you were an idiot.
which, in fairness, was not an unfair assumption. It was actually true. There was just even more to the story.
Yes.
Right. Poor Speedy.
Yeah, Speedy was their carriage driver for a while, like 3 or 4 levels.
And the beginning of the endgame anti-party.
And then he fled. He was paid well, so I don't know what his problem was.
He was not paid well.
He's paid enough.
Arguable. I don't know that anybody gets paid enough to be whipped on an 8 hours a day, everyday basis.
Yeah. Probably.
So yeah, good job.
Lemadrin, just so angry. Why don't you tell him about the golden couch before we jump to my character?
Do we want to do the golden couch or like the cave? No, wait. The golden couch was before the cave, or no?
It was after.
It was after.
Just keep telling him about Lemadrin. We are
so at one point, and we'd leveled up a couple of times at this point. So I had a sleep spell, and you know, I'd started to actually become a wizard, so that as long as he didn't have to touch anything, he could contribute to the party doing something.
I'm so glad you didn't use the word competent, because I would have had to disagree.
He didn't hit competence until like level 8. I don't know, or where he could actually do stuff. But they were about to go into. They tracked down these orc cultists who had kidnapped someone. And was there one of the weapons of the apocalypse in there? I think there was.
Yes. So at the end, the bow was there.
Right. So we were going in or rather, we tracked them down to a cave, and they're like, "All right, we've got them cornered. We know they're in there. Let's go." And I was like, "That's a cave." They're like, "Yeah." I go, "It's dark. It is wet. It's dirty. I am not going in there." And
our cleric had to put him in a bear hug and physically move him into the cave with a group.
It was not pleasant. They had to force me into the actual encounter. I was like, I'll wait in that carriage. That's fine. Just go in and get the things and come back to me. But I would have had to have gone in anyway because the weapon was in there. And basically, once I was in, I was getting ready to leave, and the devil was like, "You need to retrieve the thing, because it's in here." And I was like, "Oh." I was like, "Or I die?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Or you die.
I was like, "Okay, yeah."
So he hung back, which, again, was a sign that maybe things weren't quite okay, because Lemadrin had made it very clear he wanted nothing to do with this cave, and hung back, was the last to leave, got the bow.
It's true.
Walked out the door with it, unhappily, but he did it.
He did have growth there, though, because at this point, there was a fight. There was a major fight going on, and I was out of spell slots.
Mm-hmm.
So I had completely exhausted all of my usefulness, which wasn't
much to begin
hard,
to be honest.
It's a low bar. So I had exhausted all of my spell slots, and there were still plenty of orcs around, and I was like, okay, maybe he's had some character growth by now, so we'll see if maybe he'll attack an orc. I was like, I'm going to give a 5% chance that he'll actually wade into combat and help the team. And I grab my d20 and I roll it. And it's a 20. It's like, okay, let's do this. And he pulls out his dagger and just goes... and just rushes in there and rolls really well.
And somehow hits.
He's rolling 20s and just lands on top of the orc and just keeps stabbing it, and there's this massive plume of blood. And he's just basically coated, and everybody just stops to watch the wizard go ape shit and stab the orc. And then he comes to his senses and immediately strips down in the middle of the cave.
Didn't think that went through over well, because it's not like there was a good place in the murder room to clean up.
It's true. And I was out of spells, so I couldn't, like, prestidigitation my dirt away, which I used a lot.
Well, it was a good bonding moment. I mean, it's why the rest of us tolerated him for about 2 weeks before returning to the "can we kill this guy" moment.
You loved me.
Yeah. I loved him.
Yeah, it was delightful.
He's kind of a DM's dream, because he's got the party at each other's throats, but not to the point where things have spiraled completely out of control, so he's kind of walking that line perfectly for me.
Everyone hated... No one liked him, but they kept saving his life.
In fairness, it was my very first D&D campaign, and if I knew you all as well back then as I do now, oh, I would have put you down. I would have dealt with the consequences.
Or just allowed me to perish.
Yes, just, oh man, the carriage is on fire. I should do something. Wait, I'm going to skip this turn. I'm going to see if he can crawl out himself.
That's like episode 1. You couldn't have hated me that much by then.
I mean, we could have, but by the same token, you already had a track record of not being subtle in bars about secret meetings.
He gave me inspiration for taunting your character.
It's true.
So, yes, I could.
Yeah, it's accurate. All right. Let's see, what else? The Golden Couch.
Oh, yes, the Golden Couch. So, I made an easier version of 3.5 Edition's Tomb of Horrors just to include as part of the campaign because it worked really well with where they were in the story. Like, way less deadly because Tomb of Horrors is meant to be a one-shot that kills everybody, and you deal with it. And one of the things that's in the module for Tomb of Horrors is that there's a nice sitting room with a solid gold couch, which I laughed when I saw it when I was prepping that session, because I was like, this is going to be hilarious, because I know exactly what's going to happen when they find it. And sure enough, Lemadrin, seeing this couch, went, that needs to go in my instant fortress, someone grab a net.
And the instant fortress, just so we're clear, we had gone to see the gods, right? The gods of the world. And we did them a faves, right? And so they're like, we'll give you your heart's desire. What does everyone want? I was like, I want a portable place that's always clean that I can live in and take with me. Like an extra dimensional space. And they're like, okay. Like, so it was an instant fortress with a twist, right? Like anything that I put inside it remained. So, like, normally an instant fortress, like, you can't, like, store things inside of it or anything like that, but mine was also, it bounced up. And then I had my home. And homes need to be decorated. So, I saw this couch. And it's got my name all over it. I was like, this couch is coming with me. I was like, all right, I'm not carrying this. Somebody get an end, somebody get another end.
I believe your words were ranger, cleric. Pick that up.
Right. At which point, it was a colorful dialogue of...
We basically went on strike.
Right. Right. I don't think they actually used swears, but they said something along the lines of...
I did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like,
we're not picking up your bleeping couch.
Right.
There's a lich around here. We need to get out.
So, I blew a lot of spell slots loading this couch on Tensor's floating discs. And because this was not far, we had a lot left to go.
Well, and there wasn't enough room to pop out Fortress either, and this is a solid gold couch. It's heavy.
Right, yeah. I couldn't make the fortress go where we could just kind of haul it inside. So it took like 2 discs a shot. And it's just following me around the dungeon. I'm like, don't get that was a wonderful thing. And it really did look great inside of the instant fortress.
Oh, it did.
Which I had drawn out and would break out. They realized later that it was very well documented where all of his pieces were. It was like interior decorating for the inside of the instant fortress.
Yeah, and to make this clear, Callahan, the player, had sketch architectural outlines of both floors, including furniture plans and room layouts that he brought to session.
His bedroom was upstairs.
Yeah, and after several sessions of flaunting these plans, James eventually asked, wait a minute, how much did you spend furnishing this fortress?
And it was to the tune of like 50,000.
Which the party, understandably, lost to their collective minds, because...
Hey, I'm level 9. I'm still using a regular longbow. You know that?
Yeah. Paintings, rugs. I got a magical wash basin that always smelled of rose petals. These were all commissioned, mind you. We didn't find these as loot.
No, these had to be specially made.
Right. So it was... It made sense to me.
Meanwhile, most of the rest of the party is just working with whatever they find, and somehow all this money got funneled into basically this walking castle.
Was I the treasurer? I don't think I was embezzling from the
No,
party
you
so
weren't
much.
embezzling, you just were wasting so much money.
It was a waste, right? I was gonna say, yeah. Everybody kept their own loot, but I didn't spend. I never bought anything useful. Yeah.
So
There was the wardrobe with the extra dimensional space,
mhm.
so that he had basically a walk-in closet.
Yep.
It was that was a good one.
So
Richest mahogany.
yeah, I mean, mahogany, nice materials. So it's really no wonder that the party just hated you. And
It's
yeah. And ultimately, that's kind of where the sketch for this episode came from, was when they were exploring the Maddening Labyrinth of Larry the Lich. That happened in this campaign.
It did.
Basically, as outlined, except Shane and I had the session one-on-one, and he did have 3 separate insanities, and we'd done a good job obfuscating the fact that Lemadrin just sucked. And he literally, in the side room where we're having the one-on-one session, because they're all exploring the labyrinth separately because they got split up magically, and he literally reads me the plot of the campaign through his insanity, and I have to sit there and keep a straight face while he's doing it.
Yeah, and my whole goal there was, I have 3 different insanities. I'm just going to put together the craziest conspiracy-laden rant that makes no sense whatsoever, just to see if I can get him to laugh. And he was busting a gut, and I thought it was because I was being funny, and it turns out because he was panic laughing, because he's trying to figure out if, is this a really weird freaking coincidence? Is Shane trolling me and letting me know what's going on here?
And I had taken the wine. Like, I went to the room and I
weird
was like,
coincidence.
okay, this is something I'll actually know. What, do they have anything that is above quality here? And he's like, well, there is a bottle of red. I was like, I'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
That'll look wonderful in my wine rack in my fortress. Like, it's
Oh, it was just absolutely ridiculous. Like, it was so good.
he hit everything, like all the points.
Like, Traejan just, even when he wasn't trying to cause trouble, he caused trouble. It was just ridiculous. And I can't fault him for wanting to leave Lemadrin in the burning carriage, because Lemadrin got to be real old as a character real quick. For the party. Like, this was like session 2.
Yeah, everyone. I played him so that he had no enduring qualities, or that was the goal. But then people did still like him. Like, they saw potential.
But that's not to say Lemadrin stole the show. Eventually, he got taken out of the picture.
It's true.
And then the biggest troublemaker of the party, not close, was Traejan. And to the point where they're back in Waterdeep. They're pretty high level at this point. The campaign's been going on a good long time. And they need to go track down this cleric who was part of solving the last apocalypse. And it happened that his establishment was closed.
Right. And I was out at this point. Did we want to talk about the reveal when they finally figured it out?
Oh, sure, yeah.
I mean, before we go to that, so it all gets uncovered. The devil shows up and basically rats me out, which was not cool.
I mean, in fairness, you had all the weapons.
Not my devil, the other devil. There was more than one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's the 9 Lords of Hell. And he basically shows up because I had all the weapons, and he's just like, I really don't want this other thing to happen. So he just pops in and says, your man, he's got the 4 weapons of the apocalypse on him, and he's about to unlock. No, had we already unlocked it?
You had already unlocked it.
Right, because I snuck off. So he's just like, he did this. Your guy in your party. And everyone just turns and looks at me, and I go, come on! You had to have known.
Like, this is literally the Lord of the Ninth coming up and going, Lord of the Eighth's about to take over everything. You guys need to not do this.
Yes, yeah, you need to fix this. And they're just looking at me, and the only thing that I could do, I just went, disintegrate, disintegrate! And I shot Damon, our life cleric, which was the one I hated the most, because he was the most just...
Goody two-shoes,
Yeah.
cleric of Bahamut, yada, yada, yada.
2 disintegrates,
Walks it off.
and basically pulls his, like, weapon. I was like, bye, and I teleported away. Now, it's important to know that I had been given, he knew all along, like, all the signs were there, because he's just like, wait a minute, I got extra spell slots and stuff like that, because the devil was giving them to me because I was doing stuff, which was great, power for, betraying my
Yeah,
friends.
I mean, Mephistopheles was basically the one pulling your strings going, do the thing for me so I can take over Asmodeus's domain.
Yeah, I was cool with it,
And-
until Asmodeus showed up.
Until Asmodeus showed up and went, listen here, you little shit.
Right, yeah, exactly. I didn't know he was going to get involved. I thought I was just going to, kind of be there. So, like, I shot him twice, completely walks it off, and I teleport away to Speedy. I had paid money after Speedy escaped. I paid money to have somebody track him down because Speedy was mine. So,
Unfortunately, Asmodeus had been paying attention and basically showed up when you went to Speedy and went, so.
yes, I didn't get away like I had thought I would. That was, but also, we had that, like, when the reveal did happen, I still remember it was Gallo. Like, I think he was actually emotionally hurt. Because his character, like, he had bonded with Lemadrin. He's like, I'm a poor person, and you're a rich person, and we're both out of our element, and there's some bonding in that.
Yeah, and on the one hand, it was hard to look at the expression because you could tell that Gallo himself as a player was completely blindsided by this. But as a DM, it's hard not to take a little pride in that too, because it showed that the storytelling was good enough to make this a believable ruse, and the curtain came off at the right time. So
Yes.
it was a cool moment as the ranger and the cleric are basically looking at each other going, when we find him.
Yeah.
He dies.
With one of us gets to kill him. That's the argument at that
As
point.
long as we both got shots, and we were good either way.
But they told him that, the devil, Asmodeus, basically said, no, you can't kill him. He has to undo it. So that's how Lemadrin lived.
Yeah.
But effectively at that point, can't be a part of the party. So,
Yeah, Lemadrin had to become an NPC because there comes a point where
Yeah.
you can't be a part of the party anymore and have it be even remotely believable, especially since
The trader mechanic was too good in that case.
it was too good, and Asmodeus is directly involved at this point. So Lemadrin was doing some time.
there was no redemption there. So we brought in Lemadrin's sister.
Who was basically the opposite of Lemadrin in every way.
Exactly. He was the one that the reason he had stormed away in the beginning was because he got turned over for an appointment for his younger sister. And so I got to design a new character, and I was like, okay, now if I was going to build an actual wizard build that was competent, I'm going to do that. And I chose my spells accordingly. And then, so now I just went from the most useless character ever to
An evocation wizard who honestly outdid the party in terms of damage through overchanneling.
right. It was I min-maxed, right? So that very specialized combat wizard. I was like, that's the polar opposite that I can go here is a combat wizard, right?
Like, I hadn't seen Avatar at the time, but he was basically Azula without the evil. It was a beautiful thing.
It was pretty great.
Crazy talented, crazy powerful, crazy useful to have around. Like, just solid character. But that naturally meant no more Lemadrin antics. It's now Trajan's time in the spotlight to
Yes.
do stupid shit.
Trajan the Troublemaker, as he aptly became known. I am so proud of this fact that, in retrospect, for being a first-time player in the first campaign, who actually, I did care very much about table etiquette and figuring out how things go, a legend of troublemaker in RPG games was born that campaign. And when I look back at the number of problems I caused Braden, very much inadvertently half the time, it was amazing. And my favorite one was, we're in Waterdeep, met my parents for the first time, got an oath bow, and we had this moment, and our clerk was like, wait a minute, you're a Lord of Waterdeep? I was like, am I Lord of Waterdeep? Yes, Shane, you're technically a Lord of Waterdeep. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm a Lord of Waterdeep.
Both his parents were.
That's
Lords
how
of Waterdeep.
That's how you keep a secret identity you don't even know about.
At which point, Lemadrin
decided he liked me because I was no longer the filthy commoner. Oh, maybe you are appropriate to marry my sister. Oh, you're from noble stock.
Yeah.
And he played in character so well. It's like, I kind of want to punch him, but this is so funny at the same time.
Oh, well, that's okay that you're dating. Yeah, because he basically went after his sister out of,
trolling him because of what he was putting us through in the campaign.
And this was a good way to kind of add to your story a little bit, because Traejan had not gotten quite as much spotlight time as some of the other characters because Lemadrin antics, and also needed a good reason to be given a top-tier bow, because he was still, to this point, working with a non-magical basic longbow
at level 9 halfway through the campaign.
And it was just one of those where it's just like...
And sharpshooter is great, but it can only do so much.
Yeah.
So it was outpaced.
We brought him in. We got him a little extra, a nice little curveball that Shane didn't even really see coming, which, again, you live for those little moments where it's like, oh, this is actually a cool little twist that actually makes sense.
And I try to give some backstory stuff where it's enough to work with, but there are enough openings where if a DM wants to mess with you, have a twist, I want to give the DM some room to be able to do something with that backstory. And, so having that, his parents are alive, and I'll just let you do with that what you will. Seemed like the way to go. And it worked out really well. My favorite moment was completely inadvertent, and it was the moment my dice luck truly changed in that campaign. Because we're doing this search because apparently we find out that, this apocalypse happens every few generations, as they do in D&D worlds. And a cleric from the last group who was supposed to have fixed this forever is still alive in Waterdeep, and obviously it was not fixed forever, so we're going to go have let's call it a friendly little chat. So I whiskeyed my character up at that point, because I was fully embracing drinking. We get a location, we go down there, and the early attempts to talk to outside security, let's just say it did not go well. And I'm just going to say, if you have a drunken half-elf who just found out he's a Lord of Waterdeep, maybe that went to his head when deciding, a halfling is going to mouth off to me? Yeah, I'm going to kick him in the head. And then it kind of went downhill from there.
So, at this point, a brawl is taking place in this alley behind...
a popular market street.
behind a popular market street, and it's super obvious. Like,
we won the fight. I just want to put that out there before
you did. You did win the fight. However, you attracted some attention from actual town guard in doing so.
The po-po.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, this ended up being a really bad thing because the most convenient escape from the town guard was into the brothel that we were headed toward. And I'm sitting here, I'm giving this very detailed description. The door is solid oak. There's metal framing around it.
Metal bindings, a solid block. And I could tell from the description, it's like, you're basically telling me through details it's a D20 or no effing way.
Yeah. You better roll a natural 20 if you wanted to shot.
And I'm looking at my character's strength of, 9, -1. Awesome. So it's a natural 20 or nothing, which I had not rolled a single one in 6 months of the campaign to that point. Not a one. And I was like, okay, so he's describing this door. I roll the dice as he's describing it, and it hits natural 20. And so it's like, okay, to do this, you're going to have to, and I interrupt him with natural 20.
Now, at this point...
the table goes nuts, and I see Braden's face of something like this. Just... All right,
Yeah,
we're doing this then.
Basically, I'm caught with my metaphorical britches down because I wasn't expecting them to get in.
This was Shane rolling. He's not rolling a natural 20. Who cares? I'll give him the chance.
Yeah.
And then he did.
And then he did, and so the first thing I did was petulantly make him take a d6 of bludgeoning damage because this was a solid door and that would have hurt like hell.
Which, with a 9 strength, I was actually okay with.
And then, basically, my plan was for them to go to the town guard and get bailed out by an influential NPC and then deal with things from there. So instead, on the fly, I have to come up with a plan for how this is going to play out. Now, at this point, the party has acquired a paladin at this point, so there's 5 members of the party. The cleric and the paladin elect to turn themselves in to the town guard.
Yeah, when the police say freeze, they decide, okay, we'll go work this out.
They're not doing that. My character normally would have, but decided to back his play. So went along.
He was playing his sister at
sister.
this point, so
Right.
in the campaign, we were romantically interested.
Right.
And then there was Gallo the Rogue, who was like my
Yeah.
my best friend, and
Life.
yeah, it's broke. This is what we do.
Best friend and best girl back in the play.
Exactly.
And so the 3 of them basically go into the brothel to get away from the town guard, while the rest of the town guard, who aren't escorting the cleric and paladin back to what amounts to Waterdeep's police station in the area, go after them.
And one of the guards shot a crossbow bolt. I'm like, oh, that's not good. So your wizard did. I was like, block the door. Stone shape. Solid stone wall.
Yeah, I was like,
Cool.
this isn't going to last. But yes, had an actual
Plan.
use. Right, exactly. Wall, what are we going to do?
Wall and then invisibility for herself. Now what are we going to do?
That was after. That was after, I think.
Yeah, we started trying to look a little bit, and then we heard all this noise, and then we go back and see the stone shape coming down. They tossed some
Because they were
magical blue
dynamite.
paint grenades in to try to mark us. Somehow the wizard dodges. The rogue and the ranger with all that dex fail the dex save, and we get plastered with blue identifying, like, a paint bomb for a bank robbery. So we're covered in will not go away paint.
Yep.
And it's great because they think that they're going to prestidigitate it away, and I basically, after they try it and it fails, I'm sitting here and I explain to them, no, these aren't actual paint. Imagine dye packs from like banks
And like, oh,
on a much grander scale, and
It's magic proof.
they basically figured out, oh, this is really bad. So the wizard basically reinforces the door again, but this is the last time they'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we cut away from them to the cleric and paladin, who are still taking their leisurely stroll to the police station with the one member of the town guard who's realized they're going to come quietly, cool.
Right.
The rest of them are needed back there. And they start seeing wheelbarrows with picks and sledgehammers because the second stone shape was much more reinforced. The first one was basically slam doors, lock it, and then hope for the best.
Right.
And then they stone shape the second one, so they see that going by, and it's taken them forever because competent wizard.
yep.
It's going to take a while to break through solid stone.
They brought in explosives.
Eventually, but that took a while because after the picks and whatnot failed, they moved up to sledgehammers.
Yes.
And we were searching the bar, and we were finding rooms that have people in compromising positions, but none we're interested in. I dodge a battle axe or 2. Worth it for the quippy puns or whatever.
It's true.
And then it's like, oh, you hear a bunch of guards coming from the downstairs. There's 2 of us. We're not sure where the wizard is at this point, if she's still there or not, because invisibility. Like, oh, we don't want to go that way. We rush in, and we were like, I rage loot the bar. I graffiti it, claiming it was the person we were searching for was responsible, because I figured smoke him out. Turns out it was a level 20 cleric who owned the place, so that was the decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a choice.
That went the other way.
And then we cut away again, and the wheelbarrows have upgraded to battering rams at this point. And the cleric and paladin are basically just giving each other looks going, this is not going to end well. And what the hell is going on?
It's like, well, I don't want to kill any of the guards, but I'm saying, like, Hunter's traps in the stairs, so we hear noises of one person falls in the trap, stumbles into the other guards. They all fall down the steps. Cool. We have a few more moments to search, try to find a way out.
It's all about delays.
Yeah, and then cuts back, and there are wheelbarrows of dynamite because they've had enough of our crap at this point.
At which point, the cleric and paladin are deeply concerned about the direction this is going because they've put 2 and 2 together. They know where all of this is headed. It's all been headed back the way they came. And it's like, we're glad we turned ourselves in.
It's this one. We're robbing the registry. We are robbing the high shelf alcohol. We are graffitiing the place. We are blaming the person who actually owns the place because we couldn't find him. We are dodging the guards. And then at the end, there's a voice from behind the door. It's like, oh, yeah, it's your character's ex. And it's, Tenshi, the servant of the god who is really mouthy to you, who you do not like one bit. And I'm like,
well, this is awkward.
I can ask for her help, or we could go to prison. Are you sure prison's that bad, Gallo? We could go to prison.
And instead, the NPC who is with Trajan's ex, it's like, no, I got this. I'll bail you guys out, and basically just teleports them into the police station.
So we were staying there, fully dyed, with all these constables staring at us as everyone else in the entire city guard is running the other direction with barrels of dynamite. I'm not going to talk my way out.
I just slipped my way out quietly.
Yeah, the wizard's just like, I'll just take this nice door that they made with the dynamite. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Dynamite.
And basically, the constables are just like, okay, and then do what constables do when criminals show up at the police station. Just book them. Make sure they're not going anywhere. They spend a brief stint being booked. And then everyone is free to go after. And no one's really any the wiser that the wizard was even involved.
I showed up I actually took time to clean up out of my adventuring gear and don, noble garb.
Yeah.
And show up to bail them out.
And Trajan just had a way of causing trouble, whether it was inadvertently finding the plot while in 3 levels of insanity, which that mace was a blast for me, because it just kept piling on the right way. And to break to you weren't supposed to get into that room, much less destroy half the city you're supposed to be helping to rule. Oops. To the island of very, very, very unkind elves, where I am sprinting through the Queen's Palace I'm definitely not supposed to be in, with a ficus plant because of the sorcerer's wild magic, bowing before a queen who just sent her guard to look for intruders who's wondering what's going on.
Oh, that's so good.
It's the friendly ficus.
If we wait 60 seconds, the plant can explain. Okay, just like, all right, let's just wait.
You know what?
Seconds.
I'm willing to wait the 60 seconds.
Yeah.
This is going to be good.
That should play out.
Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, it just at that point, Trajan, great first character, and like I said, somewhere through the game, pure dice luck. But I could not roll anything the first half. Once I started saying, "I'll take a swig of whiskey and then shoot," I could not roll below a 15. I went from totally incompetent to competent, and it was funny because it's a coincidence, but it just played so well.
It was uncanny.
And for if you gotta roll bad rolls, the first half of the campaign is where you want them.
Yeah.
Right. The second half, that's where it matters.
Absolutely. And this was a blast to run. I'm very proud of that specific instance of improv because I had planned none of that, and it just came together super well. The characters for the campaign as a whole were a blast to work with. Awesome players, awesome campaign, awesome roleplay.
Yeah.
It was a good time. But ours is hardly the best example or only example of a great campaign. We want to hear from you now. Tell us about your favorite campaigns. We want to know about your crazy stories, your awesome characters, great reveals, troublemakers who managed to spice things up, either a little or a lot. We want to know about all of it.
Those unexpected D20s that ruined it all. We want to hear about it in the comments.
Absolutely. And until next time, great gaming!
Bye.
Bye.
If you like what you just saw, please support us by hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel for more great gaming content.